Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Stepping Up to the Plate. I'm your host, Michael Vega. So glad you could join us here. And we're in a bit of mourning here on the dais between myself and my main man, Al Prizzuti. And my question to you is, when did Boston become Mudville? Because there's no joy right now here in New England after the demise of the Bruins, the early exit of the President's Cup trophy winners, record-setting Bruins. We all sat here in joyful anticipation of the playoffs and what that might bring, but we never envisioned it would bring this heartache that we're feeling now as a general populace here in New England. And of course, then we turned our lonely eyes to the Celtics, and what did they do? They broke our hearts as well in a Game 1 loss in their series, coming back against the Sixers, who didn't have the MVP, Joel Embiid, at their disposal, but they did have James Harden, who went out for 45. Unbelievable. At any rate, we're here to dissect and analyze all that went right and mostly wrong here at the end for the Bruins. And for that, I turn to my main man, Al Prizzuti. Al, thanks for being here once again. And I know I called you when that epic Game 7, and we're just like lamenting the fact that how could this happen? How could this happen? We were all probably doing the same thing. We're all yelling at our TV screens, shoot the puck, because that's the one thing that the Bruins did not do enough of at the end, among other things, Al. And what were the most glaring things that jumped off the page at you there?
Well, just to put things in context here, I mean, 65 wins in 82 games means absolutely nothing.
In the playoffs.
And Marchand said it before the playoffs started. He said, what we did was great, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't win the cup. I mean, this is what they're all trying to do. The Bruins would have loved to have played the Islanders for one. They would have beaten the Islanders. I knew there was going to be a problem with Florida for a number of reasons. They match up very well against the Bruins. They are a better checking team than the Bruins. They beat the Bruins. 2 out of the 12 losses that the Bruins had during the regular season, Florida took them out. They then lost 4 in the playoffs, 3 at home, to this team.
After being up 3-1.
But you know what? They won 2 games down there. They came back here. When they lost that game, that 5th game, I knew it was over. They just didn't have the grit that look at guys like Bennett, Kachuk, Verhagen, Montour, Cousins, all over them. I mean, Bennett is a terrific player.
Unbelievable.
And Kachuk was a superstar with the Calgary, where he scored over 100 points last year. They brought him in, and he scored 110 points. We're not talking about a lousy player. He's big. He's strong. He's probably a 6'2" Marchand.
Yeah.
He's in your face on every play.
And Al, the thing is that, you look at that, the season-ending goal for the Bruins. Where's Kachuk? He's sitting there in the dirty area, muckraking the puck out of the back of the net, and then he sends it over to Verhaeghe, who's sitting there.
But that was a classic example, because if you watch the play, Grizzly couldn't find the puck. He was fooling around with it. Brandon Carlo was behind him and couldn't find it. And Kachuk passes it to Verhagen,
and then screens.
Who's all alone.
Right.
He's all alone.
You know who that was on? That was Brad Marchand's guy.
Yeah, well, so that's the whole thing. They couldn't get out of the zone. You're in there for a minute and a half, 2 minutes. You get tired, you make a mistake, goal. So and at least what's his name said it. Not Edwards.
Billy Jaffe?
No.
Brickley?
Brickley said it. The better team won.
Yeah.
In this series, they were the better team.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty sad. But looking at the Bruins, what are they going to do? It's kind of interesting in a way, and I won't bore too many people with just numbers, but Pasternak makes $11.2 million.
He's back.
McAvoy, $9.5 million.
Back, part of the core.
Hampus Lindholm, who did not have a good series, $6.5 million.
He had a good season, though.
Brad Marchand.
Well, there's a decision to be made there, because I liked Hampus Lindholm and what he brought during the course of the season. We just never saw it in the postseason.
Well,
And then the guy we saw in the postseason was like nowhere near the guy.
they got him signed for 5. He's not going anywhere.
so,
He's
all right.
signed for 5
He'll have
years.
a chance to redeem
so.
himself.
Marchand 6.1, Charlie Coyle 5.2,
Love
Brandon
him.
Carlo 4.1,
I don't
Taylor
know
Hall
about him.
6,
Love him.
Linus 5. Watch out, they'll trade him. They could trade Linus.
For whom?
If they can get a center because they're going to be hurt, and if it all depends on whether Bergeron and Krejci come back.
So they're going to stick with Sway? If they trade Linus Ullmark, you say?
They've got a couple of guys. Don't forget, they got Kaiser, they've got Busey, they've got a few guys down in the minors.
Right.
Swayman makes $825,000.
Is it time for us to see Fabian Lysell make a move up?
Well, so if I'll finish this off with Pavel Zacha, 4.7.
Like him.
Matt Grzelcyk, who I think is in trouble, 3.6. Forba, 3, gone. Jake DeBrusk, 4.
Love him.
Zobril, 1.1. So he's not going anywhere, but 1.1.
That's a trade chip.
AJ Greer, they're not going to sign. Don't forget now, they've got 3 guys, Stroman, Riley, and Wagner, that's part of the cap, incidentally. Stroman's $1 million. Riley, $1.8 million. Nobody wanted them when he put them up on waivers, and nobody picked them up. So they're stuck with them.
They're going to eat that.
Wagner's only making $225,000. Now, these are the guys that have UFAs. Tyler Bertucci, and he makes $2.3 million. He's a Bruin. He's going to want $5 million after what he did in the playoffs. He's done this every year in the playoffs, both in the NHL and the AHL. He's a playoff-style player. He's a great passer, and he's a goal scorer. Yeah. Scored 30 goals, incidentally, with Detroit.
I'll take him. I'll spend the money.
Hathaway's a UFA. He's a $1.5 million. Swayman's a UFA. He's an RFA. He's a restricted.
So they have the chance to keep him.
Busey is a restricted. He's also down. He's a goalie. And then you've got Kaiser, he's just an add-on. Orlov, 1.275. I'd trade him. I think he's an offensive guy, but I think he has his weaknesses on defense.
So you need to get a centerman. So you package Orlov and maybe Ullmark for a decent, you need to get a good one.
You can get a top notch. I mean, you don't forget, Ullman could win the Vezina Trophy. Incidentally, all 4 guys that were up for the Vezina Trophy, gone out of the playoffs.
Unbelievable, right?
I mean, Foligno, gone. These are the guys you got to watch out for. They don't make a lot of money, but I think they could be potentially packaged. Trent Frederick, Connor Clifton, and Nosek. Nosek makes $1.75 million.
All right, out of those 3, who would you be more inclined to target as someone you want to bring back?
Of those 3? Well, it depends. Don't forget, if Bergeron and Krejci go, they're centermen. So you might need Nosek to be a 3rd, 4th line center.
Frederick?
Well, Frederick can play center. I think of the guys that I mentioned there, I think Connor Clifton's got to watch out because he's like that swing guy. So it's Grzelcyk's in for 2 games, Clifton's in. Clifton is more of a Bruin.
Clifton's at times during the season played with more snarl than any defenseman.
Yeah, he's grit. He's more, he'll hit you. He's not a big kid, but he'll hit you. And Grzelcyk can skate. He's a skater. He'll get you out of the zone, but the Bruins are loaded with guys who get you out of the zone. McAvoy can get you out of the zone,
Lindholm.
and so can Lindholm, and so can McAvoy, like that. Yeah. So you got those guys that will get you out. Right. So they need a Brandon Carlo who can stay back. Brandon Carlo had a good season. He had a good series. Yeah. Actually, a better series than he had season.
He had a nice outlet there. And then they took the shot that wound up in Pasternak's, go ahead goal there.
If they could get a trade going with Orlov, I don't think they want to trade the goalie. If they could, and get depending on Bergeron and Krejci. If not, they're going to go after a top line, 2nd line center, maybe a 1st line center, and trade Orlov, Grzelcyk, and Forbort. Don't forget, down in the minors, they've got Akan and Laurie, 2 defensemen.
Right.
Laurie's considered their top.
Yes.
Potential. And then you've got Fabian Lysell, who's a winger, who can play both center and wing.
What have you paired him on the same line as like a Pastrnak or a Zacha?
Now, I think what's going to happen next year is you're going to keep the check line going.
Yeah. Maybe with a Taylor Hall.
Well, Taylor Hall and Charlie Coyle match up very well. Because they're both gritty.
And you add Lysell to that line.
Well, Lazelle
You
is
get
kind of like a
dynamic
Pasternak.
scorer who can go, go get the. Here's the thing, Al. The thing that just jumped off the page or the screen at me when I was looking at these games, and it's just how the Bruins were a step late getting to pucks.
Well,
They didn't seem to have the same grit and fight, and the puck kept getting hung up in the corners instead of finding its way to the net. Meanwhile,
they look
you
like
have
they
Mike
had.
Montour. He splits the defense and goes right at the net on his goal.
No, that is defensive weaknesses that the Bruins had. That
was a breakdown in their structure.
But that's what the Bruins want to do. They want to drop their defensemen down low. Now, here's the problem for the Bees. When you say 2 to 3, a minute and a half in the zone, you go back and forth, and they get tired, then they make a mistake, and it's a goal.
Right.
And the second thing with the Bruins is, and you saw this when Brandon Carlo came down over the line, shoots on net, Bravosky makes the save, it goes out because it was a nice hard
Juicy
shot.
rebound, yeah.
And who scores? Pasternak.
Yeah.
So if they could understand that instead of doing this cycle, shoot and let guys like Hathaway, DeBrusque, Taylor Hall, and Bertucci pick up the rebounds and pass. Because when Bertucci gets a pass, he knows exactly where Pasternak is, and he feeds him, and Pasternak scores an easy goal.
The other thing too, Al, is that to me, they just spent way too much time, and you touched upon this, cycling the puck, particularly on those power play opportunities, when they should have just been shooting the puck on the net, peppering that guy, and then you have those juicy rebounds.
So in fairness to the coaching staff, during the season they did the same thing and they won 65 games. Well, what people don't realize is that when the playoffs start, the style of play changes. They let you hit.
Yeah.
And the Bruins, historically, look at what makes this more epic than everybody talks about Tampa Bay losing and all, have to win in the cup. Well, I'll tell you the difference. The Bruins won 65 out of 82 games. 65 out of 82 games, almost 3/4 of the games they played. They only lost 12 times, and they lost in the first round.
Right.
Tampa lost in the finals.
Yeah.
They lost in the first round. Yeah. So if you're the Jacob brothers, you're sitting back saying, we've just lost not the game only, we lost all the revenue for the second round and the third round. This is a huge loss for the Bruins.
All the way around.
All the way around.
And now, Al, when you look at it, for history's sake, I mean, where does this fall for you amongst those epic sports meltdowns? And I have one that no one even mentioned. I think it's right up there with the Yankees collapse in 2008.
Let me put it this way. Why I don't think it's as big a collapse is because hockey is a different type of sport. Hockey's an emotional sport,
right? For
one thing, okay? And every team that makes the playoffs has a chance to win because they know, they work hard. Kachuk said it best. He said, we were so loose, we knew we could win.
Right.
The Bruins let them think they could win. When the Bruins went down and won 2 games down there, came back and they beat Boston here. They said, what did he say? We're coming back.
He says, remember this room, we're coming back for 7.
They had nothing to lose because everybody thought they were going to lose. The Bruins had everything to lose because everybody thought they won the cup.
We'll be back in this room for Game 7.
Right. Now,
what a great thing to tell your team,
Well, so what I'd say is this. Edwards has got to go because for him to say that loss was the same as the Hindenburg in '39 is a travesty.
Oh, my God.
If I'm Jacobs and I'm the Bruins, I'm going to say, get this guy off the air.
Did you notice something's going on with him?
Well, he can't speak that well. I know that. I mean,
I don't know, is it a cognitive thing or?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He has trouble speaking,
yeah.
But he also goes over the line. When Pasternak scored the goal, you think that the war in the Ukraine was over. I mean, he got still you had 7 minutes, 8 minutes left to play.
Yeah.
And then with the minute left to play.
I would have, I'm Jim Montgomery. I call a timeout at that moment.
Well,
you
2
know
minutes
what?
left to play.
Bring the guys over and look at all of them and say, look, give me your best hockey for 59 seconds.
I would have said to him, look at, ice it if you have to, but get it out.
Yeah.
Ice it.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? You supposedly have some of the best drop guys in Bergeron, and well, look at Coyle was having a good draw. I mean,
staple that puck to the boards, man. You know.
I mean, that goal went off of McAvoy.
Yeah, it was a redirect by McAvoy.
So
tough.
I didn't blame Swayman. I didn't blame Swayman for the whole game. I thought he had a fairly decent game.
He got let down by his defenseman.
And back checking.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just didn't have it. Now, the other thing that you got to remember, the Bruins have 39 million cap space. So that's the way the team looks right now. And then you've got all the UFAs and the RFAs. Okay?
But the two big names that are going to linger during the offseason are Bergeron and Krejci.
Well, not for the cap space, because Bergeron only got paid $2 million.
Right.
And Krejci only got paid $3 million.
But I'm
they
just
got
saying,
a $4 million.
I'm saying for the composition of this team right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if those guys, if they linger with whether they're coming back or not, that hurts the Bruins.
Right. They got to make a decision.
So if I was Sweeney and Cam Neely, I would go to him and say.
But you know, they've already done this team a solid by taking the short-term deals.
But what I would say is, look, in order for us to figure out whether we got to dump some guys, big guys, okay, big salary, to stay under the cap, because people don't realize if you go over the cap, you get fined.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's not, they're not. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So, but if they wait, and Bergeron, I think, will say quicker than Krejci.
Yeah.
Krejci's got family issues, and he's from Czechoslovakia.
I think they wind up getting Bergeron back and saying goodbye to Krejci.
I think, though, actually, they want Krejci to stay more
than Bergeron.
I think Bergeron is on the back nine. He's a
totally.
Great player.
Yeah.
But they'd have to say to him, look, at both of you guys are going to play 16
both
minutes.
these guys, you know, I'll never forget, like, after the epic collapse against the Flyers. Remember, they were up 3-0 in the series. They lost Krejci, and then they wound up losing to the Flyers.
Krejci's a playoff
4-3.
guy.
They were up 3-0, you know, and
he's got more. He's a playoff guy. So I don't think. I mean, I think they'd like to have him back, and I think they'd have to say to him, look, you play 15, 16 minutes max. You know, maybe every third or fourth game you sit. Because if we get into the playoffs, that's all. You'll never see them win 60. You'll never see this team push like they did all year to get to a number. What they want to get in is the playoffs. Like Florida did.
Yeah, Florida pushed at the very end and barely got in. And now they're flying. They're playing with their hair on fire.
So you got to remember one thing. What they got to do is they got to look at the team right now and say, these guys are going to go. I mean, the guy that probably will get the biggest offer to go is Bertucci.
Yeah, Bertuzzi.
Don't forget, he's only making 2.3 million. Yeah, 2.3 million, and he probably is going to be looking for 5, 6.
That's going to be interesting.
That's a lot of money.
So we turned our lonely eyes after that Sunday night loss and looked to the Celtics, hoping that they would restore our enthusiasm, our energy, our reason to live. But they let us down as well. And Al, you know, huge opportunity lost for the Celtics. You had Joel Embiid on the bench. The Celtics were attacking the rim without any kind of resistance whatsoever, it seemed like, against Philadelphia.
Well,
and then all of a sudden, James Harden happens.
But when you say all of a sudden, I'll tell you what it is with the Celtics, and they've done this all year. They build up these big leads, in the fourth quarter, they collapse. Harden is a player. When Harden took over that team, he shot. I mean, that last shot was not a 3 or 4, and it went straight in.
But and then you had uncharacteristic turnovers and meltdown at the end. Brogdon, the guy who's been so solid for this team,
Brogdon
turns it over, and then Maxey goes in for a go-ahead layup, and
so
that was it.
You know, the 76ers with Embiid. I'm saying with him, James Harden. You got Maxey. You've got Milton, and you got Harris.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're not a bad team. No. And I will say this, they got a better coach, a more
yeah.
seasoned coach
Yeah.
in Doc Rivers.
Well,
So,
Doc he's brought the ship home. This guy's still trying to find his way.
well, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
you got a new coach, and you got
He's
a
never
team
been in the playoffs before.
that historically has given up fourth period wins.
Yeah.
So you know what? I look and they say this, just as an aside for the Bruins again. If they could get Verdugo, the Bruins, and put him on the line, he'll score a goal for them, because he's been the best player the Red Sox have had. So it would be good to have.
Well, that's mixing metaphors.
So we'll put Alex Verdugo on the
okay.
second line.
Okay.
If Krejci doesn't come back.
And then what can he do for the Celtics?
Well, get him in the end. I mean, he's got 3 game-winning plays.
I'll tell you, what's been a pretty entertaining series so far has been the Knicks and the Heat. That's not going to be an easy road to hoe for anybody that comes out of this game.
No, I know.
Out of this series.
But
the Celtics have struggled with both teams.
I think, though,
mightily against the Knicks.
I think the fact that the Celtics have gotten to the end last year helps them.
For sure.
I mean, they'll come back here. I do believe if I had money, I would put it on the Celtics tonight.
And you look at the Western Conference right now.
Because Embiid's not playing again.
Oh, wow.
They said he's not playing. So.
Again?
Again tonight.
Oh, I thought you meant.
Oh, no, I didn't say forever. He's not playing again tonight.
Well, you never know. That could be a Game 3 thing too, They figure, hey, if we win again tonight, we'll give him a rest, and then we'll get him going for Game 3.
But they did what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Anytime you got a team with a home court,
you split with them.
You win one of the 2 games. Yeah. Now you have home court advantage, and that's all you wanted to do. In hockey, you want to win one of the 2, and that's what the Panthers did.
Yeah.
All right, and then they didn't want to lose 2 down there, but they did.
Yeah.
And then the Bruins lost
3. Well,
4
3
games,
here.
but 3 here, which is unbelievable. Anyways, watching from the Celtics, I think they'll be fine. And that I also thought the Bees would be fine, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm more convinced that the Celtics will win against the 76ers than I was. If anybody talked to me, I said, watch out for the Panthers. They match up well against the Bees. Yeah. Now, on the Red Sox.
Al, are the Red Sox being underestimated right now? Are we underestimating how good this team can be?
Well, what I do think is you can't overestimate the Red Sox. We underestimate them because the pitching is not there, but the hitting is there.
The pitching seems to be a work in progress, particularly with the starting rotation.
But that doesn't win you. That doesn't win you the conference. I think Verdugo is having a terrific year. Duran. I mean, nobody could imagine.
You know who he looks like right now? He looks like Jacoby Ellsbury.
Yeah, a little.
In 2011. And that's when Ellsbury had an all-star season.
But you know what? I'll tell you why I think that they have a chance to be better than people thought. Turner, if you look up Turner and take a look at his stats, his career stats, he's a 288 lifetime hitter.
Yeah.
288.
Yeah.
Now you put him in a ballpark where you can hit like Fenway Park for 81 games. He's okay. Yoshida looks like a different player than he did at the start.
Who was the scout that said that they overpaid for him? I think he is what he is. He came as advertised.
And Wong was 4 for 4 last night, incidentally.
Unbelievable.
4 for 4.
Homer.
And this kid can throw guys out, and he's got thunder in his bat. He doesn't look like a big guy. The only guy that got 2 hits last night, and I'm not a big fan, is Ref Schneider. I understand that he supposedly hits lefties better than righties, but I don't think he's a top-notch player. Let's not forget, even though he's got 10 home runs and leads the league, he's hitting 230, and that's Devers.
Yeah.
He's hitting 230.
Yeah. He'll catch fire.
We hope he catches fire.
Right.
Because you don't want him to hit 50 home runs, knock in 100 runs, and hit 250, not 230. You'd much prefer 45 home runs, 100 RBIs, and 300 because, 230 means that it's 7.5 times out of 10 he makes an out.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it could be a deep fly ball out. You know, it could be.
Could
You know,
be.
it's not necessarily a strikeout.
But the Red Sox are not a small ball team. They don't push
No.
runners over as well
No.
as some teams. Now, Turner did last night.
Yeah.
Turner hit that fly ball to right field, and Alex Verdugo went to third base.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I didn't realize he's Mexican, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I mean, so's Duran.
Yeah.
They played on the Mexican team.
In the World Baseball.
Verdugo's got a weird lean, but he sees the ball very well. He's a ball player.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think that lean is just to kind of get himself counterbalanced.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, and then unleash it.
And I'm kind of glad that Cora, who I don't think is a great manager, but I know everybody else does. I'm kind of glad he's sitting Casas down and letting Turner play first base, because Casas could easily go under the marginal line of 100.
Yeah.
He's hitting like 120.
Yeah, he'll be sitting right next to Dahlbeck.
But there's a guy. Well, but Dahlbeck hit a home run last night for the pot, whatever it is. What do they call it? Woo Sox.
Woo Sox.
Dahlbeck could hit.
Yeah.
If he's given a better, I think he's going to hit better than Casas. He'll hit more home runs than
Maybe he'll
Casas.
come around like Duran did.
A little different. Well,
Duran looks like he put on some weight, some muscle strength.
But what Duran did was changed his hands. He makes contact with the ball a lot better than he did.
Yes.
He was lost last year.
Yeah.
Dahlbeck has trouble with certain pitches.
Yeah.
And the problem with Dahlbeck is if he gets into these big slumps where he doesn't hit anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when he hits it, it's a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hit 20 home runs. He'd be a better first baseman.
Then Casas?
Yeah. Casas is not a bad first baseman.
Yeah.
But he's not. He can't hit.
No.
And I don't know if he'll ever hit. So anyways.
What about the pitching rotation here?
Well,
you know,
Tannehill pitched 6 innings last night.
6 hits.
Gave up 6 hits, walked 3, struck out 5. Not bad.
Right. No
okay,
decision
but you
for
still
him.
got 6 runs, all earned.
I think the more important thing was the innings pitched, Al.
Yeah, well, that's what you need with these pitches. Going 6 or 7 is all you're asking for.
Right.
But then when you have Schreiber, Blyer, and Winkowski going an inning apiece, no runs, 1, 2, 3. That's what you need. And then they got the big kid, who's
Kenley Jansen.
Yeah, he's a pitcher.
Yeah.
So they got a better relief staff than they have starters.
Right.
I'm not sure if his name is ready.
What about Brian Bello, who came in?
I'm not sure he's ready yet.
Yeah.
I think he's got. I mean, if I hear one more time, he's got great stuff, and then gets hit for 7.
How'd you feel about Chris Sale's last start?
I liked it. I
think it's on an upward trajectory.
And the one before the second one, because he pitched a great game where he struck out 11. Then he depends on the team.
Yeah. Well, so much to dissect and analyze here, and we hope that you will be able to recover from that epic Bruins loss, and we can focus our energy here on the Celtics. But at any rate, we thank you for joining us here on Stepping Up to the Plate, and we look forward to having you here next time. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you then.